So, you want to have a perfect day, don't we all? Everyone just wants to have perfect days. No one wakes up and says, I hope today isn't perfect. I hope today isn't a good day. I hope I have a miserable day. Nobody says that. But everyone looks for the quote unquote perfect day, because I know you can't have a perfect day, but in a sense, you can't actually. And everyone looks for it in the wrong place. You ask someone what their perfect day would look like, they'll tell you, they'll start where it starts. They'll tell you where they'd wake up, what's the first thing they'd do, what they would eat, where they would go, how they would spend their time throughout the day. And this is why no one has a perfect day, because that's what people's minds go to, their external circumstance. But to have a perfect day, it only matters about your internal circumstance, about what is going on inside of you, about how you decide to look at today. The meaning of life, as Viktor Frankl says, is to give life meaning. And everyone begs life to give them meaning. Everyone looks at life like it owes them something, and that life should heap meaning upon them, and that happiness should just come to one because one was put here against one's will. But that's not how it works. And if you keep looking for your perfect day, your ideal situation externally, then you're bound to be miserable. For example, there's a place in Washington called Olympic National Park. And I first heard about Olympic National Park probably, give or take, a year ago. And I really wanted to go. The first time I ever heard about it, first time I ever saw it, I really wanted to go. And, I dreamed of going. I thought, that'd be so cool to go to Olympic National Park. It looks like such a cool, fun place. So, time goes by, still really want to go there. And when I first heard about it, if you asked me at the right time, there's a potential chance describing my ideal day would have involved going to Olympic National Park. What's the perfect day for you? Well, I'd wake up in Washington and, I'd go hike at Olympic National Park. I'd go check out the Hoh Rainforest. I'd go on, um, Mount Storm King. Yes, that's the mountain name there. Um, I'd go check out the coast. I'd go check out Thunder Ridge. And like that could have been my ideal day. I think it's very possible if you asked me at some point a year ago, that could have been my answer. And now at this point, a little over a month ago, I found myself there. I found myself in Washington on my road trip, and I found myself at the gates of Olympic National Park. And I was extremely sad. My internal state was extremely depressed. And I don't know why. I don't know why. I wasn't feeling very good. It was just one of those moments where, I'm on a road trip I've wanted to do forever. I'm having a blast. I'm like 10 days into this thing. I just got done exploring Banff in Canada, which was like, the most beautiful place I've ever seen. And I loved it. I had an amazing time. And then I find myself in Washington at Olympic National Park. It's gloomy, it's rainy, you know, what I wanted to do was closed at Olympic National Park, but nonetheless, I was at Olympic National Park, and I was extremely, extremely sad. So, how does an external situation give you a perfect day? Because, like I said, at one point in the past, not too long ago, I'm not saying like, oh, when I was like 5 years old, that would have been my perfect day. Like, no, like less than a year ago, that would have been an ideal day. And I found myself in that situation, extremely sad. And I found myself, I've had better days. I don't really like my job that much, but I've definitely had better days, going to the gym, going to work, you know, spending time with friends and family. A simple day. I've had days I've had hundreds of times. I've had I've had better days doing that than, what should have been an amazing day. I was on vacation. I was doing a road trip that I wanted to do for so long. I was in a place I wanted to visit for so long, a place that's very far away from me. So, the amount of times I'm going to find myself in Washington are probably numbered. Um, so it should have been an amazing time. But my internal state ruined it. And your internal state can either ruin or make a day. It doesn't matter what you're doing externally. The perfect day does not consist of what I do from 8 to 10, from 10 to 12, from 12 to 2, 2 to 4. That is not what an ideal day consists of. It's what is your mindset when you wake up? What is your mindset throughout the day when things outside of your control are heaped upon you? And what is your mindset when you're doing the things that you've longed for? You know, wherever, as they say, wherever you go, there you are. If you're miserable every day, you are not going to be happy in, you know, your dream place, your dream vacation. Maybe when you first get there, if you're not super stressed about the travel because your internal state's all messed up, you're probably going to be the traveling is probably just going to be enough to ruin your whole trip. But if by some miracle it doesn't, maybe the first day you'll enjoy it. Maybe even the second day, maybe even the third. But one of those days you're going to wake up. You're going to wake up in your bed in Hawaii and you're going to look to your side and you're going to see yourself. And you're going to see that same miserable self that runs away from everything, that, ruins your day to day life. And you'll say, no, no, not you, not here. That's impossible. This is where I want to be. But your internal state is not where it wants to be. Your internal state is all out of whack. And that's why the richest people can be the saddest and the poorest people can be the happiest. That's why people who work, 80 hours a week can be happier than people who are unemployed or, unemployed willingly and working 80 hours a week to provide for people or to, because they're in a country that is forcing them to do that. Those people, like I said, Viktor Frankl earlier, spent years in the Holocaust. He spent years, or spent a decent, I don't know years, but decent amount of time at Auschwitz and other concentration camps. And he found meaning there after. If he, you think he didn't tell himself that, my perfect day wouldn't be outside of this place? But once he got out, he realized his wife died in the Holocaust. I'm pretty sure his kids died. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty certain his wife died. If he survived all that time in the Holocaust just for a chance to, see his wife again, he probably would have killed himself once he realized that she and his family were dead. But this external world he chose during the Holocaust to banish. He chose that he wasn't going to let it dictate his internal state. And there was something that he was never going to give up, which no one has to give up, because it will always be within a human's control. And that is your attitude, and that is your outlook on life and your internal state. And that's what Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius and other Stoics are so big on. They're so big on what is in your control and what is outside of your control. And true happiness comes from focusing on what is inside of your control and being indifferent to the things outside. And it can be hard to smile in the rain and whistle in the graveyard, but you have to. Because if you can't, then you can't be happy on a beach. You can't be truly happy. True happiness, I believe, something so something so pure, something so amazing as true happiness cannot be temporary. Cannot be temporary. If you obtain happiness, if that's even possible, you cannot lose happiness. Not so easily. You can't be a happy person and then you stub your toe, or you drop your plate of food, walk into the dinner table, and your world's in shambles and you're miserable and you're mad and you're sad and you're annoyed. True happiness cannot be taken away by things that trivial. I don't believe God put our happiness in the hands of other people. That would be cruel, honestly. Imagine if your happiness, if your well-being was dictated by this external world. If that was the case, I don't think Viktor Frankl could have found happiness or found peace in a concentration camp. And I don't think God would do that, because all the things that truly matter were put into our control for a reason, and for the best reasons. When you ask yourself what your perfect ideal day looks like, remind yourself that it's not what you're doing externally. And also remind yourself that it's not something that you can't have today. Every day you wake up, you have control over your internal state. And if that's the case, then every day can be a perfect day. I forgot if I hit record on this. I think I did. Hopefully. Um, we'll find out. I'm not checking. Because that's external. The this video being published. This video being published is not gonna determine my happiness for the rest of my life. Or this video getting 1 view, 2 views, or 3 million. It's all fleeting. The internal state is what really matters. The most successful people in the world, some are miserable. And the people who have failed over and over again are truly happy.
And I don't think people give that thought enough time. They say, oh, yeah, yeah, money doesn't buy happiness. Okay, give me $1 million then. You know what I mean? But you don't really think about it. Someone who's a billionaire is telling you money doesn't buy happiness. Don't you think if you're going to take anyone's word for what money's worth, it's a billionaire? All these older people tell you they wish they had their youth back. Like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I wish I was in a safe position like you. I don't have you like. There's so much problems as a youth. The uncertainty of life, what you're gonna do, yada yada yada. Like, no, don't say that. You have someone who's 80 years old telling you that they'd give everything they have to be back at your age, and all you're doing is sacrificing everything you have at your age, your time, to be to get material possessions like they have. How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? People, Mark Twain said that youth is wasted on the young. And that's such a pity because youth sounds like the best thing. I mean, youth's all I know. I mean, I'm pretty young. I'm 22. I don't really care about disclosing that. I'd still consider myself a youth, and I wish it wasn't wasted on me. But I have a feeling it is wasted on me. The way I act, the feelings I have towards the world, my internal state, the things I spend my time doing, the things I sacrifice my time doing. And that's why I try to gain wisdom. So youth could potentially not be wasted on me. So I try to read the best thinkers ever. That's why I try to listen to older people. And I try to listen to people in positions that I once thought was good. A lot of money I once thought was good. But I've heard many people with a lot of money tell me it's not. I thought owning your own business was good. I've heard plenty of people who own their own business tell you how, you know, how many hours you have to spend outside of work, thinking and doing, and it sounds like a headache, and a headache worth doing if you love your business. But if you just open a coffee shop to make money, then you find yourself working 100 hours a week just to like almost make ends meet. I don't know if being your own boss is worth it at that point. I think it might be better to work 40 hours a week and have some free time, have some time to actually live your life. But I try to take people's word. There's so many people throughout history now who say these societal goods are evils, and no one listens. Like I said, you ask the millionaire tells you that you're lucky to be young and stop chasing money, and you tell him to give you $1 million. You don't even care. You don't even know where that information is coming from. That's coming from something he wishes he could tell his younger self. And all anyone wants is what's best for themselves. And he's projecting what's best for himself onto you. Even if he's wrong, that deserves contemplation. There's weight there. There's a lot of weight there. If you truly care about what people think in a good way, not in a bad way, then there's weight there to contemplate. You don't have to blindly accept it, but you should think about it. That's interesting. This, that person right there is who I want to be in 20 years, and he's telling me he wishes he was me. That's paradoxical. I need to look into that. But no, people take it with a grain of salt, and they say, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Like, give me $1 million." um,
I really started thinking about this topic yesterday, watching a podcast by Modern Wisdom with Dwayne Knoll from Drag Creek Wrangler School. And he said, the perfect day is, he couldn't describe his perfect day. And I thought that was weird. And then he said, Chris was like, oh, it's because you've changed so much in 5 years, yada, yada, yada. And Dwayne was like, no, I think it's because I value my internal state more than my external state. I value what is going on internally more than what is going on externally. I've thought about that before, but it was so hard for me to accept. It was so hard for me to accept. Because, like I said, I don't love my job. Every day I don't love what I'm doing externally. But then I realized there's days that I've had where if you told me what I was doing, I would have told you that must have been an amazing day. And if you look back at how I felt that day, I felt horrible. I felt worse than days where I had to go work 12 hours. And how sad is that to live for a life where you think happiness is there, but you're actually more happy here. And then by the time you realize that, you can't go back. All you can do is change the future. All you can do is take that information and change your future and try to be more present and try not to take the things you have for granted. Because I've truly had better days. Doing things I don't like because my internal space was good than days where I was doing something that I loved. I enjoy traveling. I enjoy hiking. I enjoy seeing new places. And I was doing that in Washington, but I was very sad. And that was a wake up call because I've had more experiences than just that one in life. But that's the one that's at the front of my brain, and that's the one that it was crazy. It was crazy because there were so many factors of this being potentially a day I prayed for forever. I saved up enough time off. I had 17 days off in a row from work. I haven't had that many days off in a row for 3 years. I mean, check. That sounds amazing. You must be having a really good time. Oh no, there's more. There's more. I was in a new state I've never been to, visiting a national park I've always wanted to see. Wow, you must have had an amazing time. No, no, I hated it. Doesn't that sound crazy? Your ideal days will be more dependent on your external, pardon me, your internal state than your external state. True happiness was not put outside of yourself.